U.S. women's basketball star Brittney Griner has been released from Russian custody. U.S. President Joe Biden announced that Griner was released in a prisoner swap involving a Russian arms dealer. The two-time Olympic gold medalist was arrested in February after police found vape canisters containing a small amount of cannabis oil in her luggage. Griner admitted to owning them, but said they were packed by mistake. Her arrest sparked a diplomatic drama between the U.S. and Russia alongside the backdrop of the war in the Ukraine. Let's get the latest now from U.S. correspondent William Denselow, who joins us live from New York. William, thanks for your time this evening. President Biden called it painstaking negotiations that took place over the last few months, but it seems that the last 48 hours specifically were quite dramatic because the U.S. very much wanting to make it a 2-for-1 exchange. Give us a sense of how it all unfolded.
That's absolutely right. There are reports that the former prisoners actually bypassed each other on an airport in the United Arab Emirates, something you might expect to see in the movies. Of course, this was Brittney Griner heading back to the United States after being detained back in February, with Victor Bout, the notorious arms dealer, heading the other way. Of course, Bout was imprisoned in the US about a decade ago. He faced about 25 years behind bars. And as you rightly mentioned, there was also plenty of speculation as to whether Paul Whelan would be included in this prisoner swap. We've heard from Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, when quizzed about what exactly happened when it came to Whelan and why he was not included in this deal. Karine Jean-Pierre was very keen to say this wasn't about choosing Brittney Griner over Paul Whelan. It was more of a question of whether it'd be one American coming home or none, not one or the other.
Quite a bit of reaction, of course, as well. Very happy scenes around the White House where the vice president was with the president, as well as Brittney's wife, who was extremely relieved after the many months of anxiety that they've all been through. But some of the pushback saying that if it wasn't for Brittney Griner's celebrity, she would not be on her way home. But many saying you use what you can, and she could use the various social media platforms. She had a lot of support driven by her wife at home. I suppose you never are going to please everybody in this very shadowy world of geopolitical negotiations.
Absolutely. Of course, talking about the emotions, you're absolutely right. Cheryl was in the Oval Office with President Biden. She said that she was standing there overwhelmed with emotions. We also heard remarks from President Biden, who said that Brittney Griner was in good spirits and that she needs time and space to recover. Now, we have heard from the legal team for Paul Whelan when it comes to his reaction to not be also on a plane heading back to the United States. Of course, the former Marine, according to his lawyers, say that he's upset that more wasn't done to see him freed as well. We've heard from President Biden. He says that we will not give up and we will never give up on bringing Paul Whelan back home to the United States. Of course, there has been speculation as to whether Russia saw Brittney Griner and Paul Whelan on different levels when it comes to perhaps the importance and the strategic importance and the clout that both individuals had when it comes to collateral as part of this exchange. Of course, Paul Whelan was arrested on espionage charges, accused of being a spy, of course, something he vehemently denies. He says that he was in Russia just to visit for a wedding. So certainly plenty of disappointment from Paul Whelan's camp, but as you rightly say, plenty of celebrations that Brittney Griner, that has been such a hugely prevalent absentee from women's basketball, from US sports, and has really been hugely her trial, what many describe in the US as a show trial, has been so prominent here in the United States. The news that she got sentenced to 9 years in a Russian penal colony has been an enormous event, enormous media attention that it's garnered over the past few months. So this, her return is certainly being widely celebrated. But of course, critics say because of the prominence that Victor Bout has as an arms dealer, of course, let's not forget that he's been dubbed by many as the Merchant of Death, even having a Hollywood film named after him. There's plenty of speculation as to whether releasing him was the right move.
Just before we let you go, what does this tell us about the Biden presidency's approach to this kind of thing? He very much needed a win in this regard, didn't he? Whether it was 2 Americans coming back or 1. But he really has wanted to prove that this was something that his time in office will do successfully, even though, as he called it himself, it's been quite painstaking.
Of course, he's not the only president to have received plenty of blowback for prominent citizens being kept captive in hostile nations, but there has been plenty of pressure on the Biden administration to see Brittney Griner returned home. So this will certainly be of a huge relief, not only to Brittney Griner and her family, but also the Biden administration to be able to achieve this. We have heard directly from the president when it comes to that issue about what more the United States can do when it comes to seeing citizens be returned safely back to the country. He says the US needs a swifter, a more direct response when such circumstances emerge. He also warned, and the White House has warned, of the dangers of Americans travelling abroad, especially to less friendly nations. But of course, attention will certainly be still on Paul Whelan and US efforts going forward on what they can do to unite that family as well.